Okay, so without further ado, let's call the meeting to order. First, let's do roll call. Ram Taza.
I'm here.
All right. Sharon Thomas is not with us yet. Josh Mickelson.
Here.
All right. Joanne Hogan.
Present.
Mark Freeman.
Present.
Oh, there you are. And Allie said she might be late, but I think we have a quorum already, so let's move forward. With that being said, let's jump right in with application 1A 22-01 of Bluefield applicant for variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.5, to install an emergency generator in the front yard of the property located at 6 Kiran Lane. Mr. Hill, would you like to present your request to us by chance?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for allowing us to make this appeal. So we're interested in putting in an emergency generator, having had bad experiences of being without power, living in Connecticut, and being concerned about future events like that. We also have a number of relatives in the area who do not have generators, so we could be of assistance to them, including 3 grandchildren and a 4th one on the way next month. So the contractor that we had come out said by far and away the best place, and perhaps the only place that it could be, was in the position that you see in the documents, which is on the side of the house. It's in front of the garage, which is where the gas comes in, and it's right above the electrical panel box in the basement. We're actually in a situation where we used a contractor called Codan out of Ellington, and they were not familiar with Simsbury. Apparently in east of the river, this kind of zoning regulation does not exist. So they were very surprised. We actually have the generator is sitting on in the position where it would be. It's not attached to gas, and but in the process of going through the permit process, they came across the zoning regulation. So you can see in the photograph, it's underneath a green tarp in the position where it is behind the some hydrangeas. So the unit's only 2.5 feet tall. There's only one neighbor that really has a direct view. The neighbor across the street that has a direct view, they would be about 40 yards away, looking at something that's 2.5 feet tall behind some plants. So we don't believe it's much of an eyesore concern, which I guess that's the reason for the zoning regulation. And you can see we got signatures from those people that they're fine with it. And the neighbor on one side, the neighbors on the other side were out of town when we were filling out the paperwork. We've talked to them since, and they said that they're fine with it. I'm not sure what else you might be interested in know. Be glad to answer any questions.
It seems somewhat straightforward to me. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions? Okay, in the interest of moving forward, we will now, I'll make a motion, or anyone can make a motion. We're going to make the motion, just so you know, in the affirmative. That is the way we always do it. Once we do that, we will vote on it shortly after. So when you hear us make the motion in the affirmative to accept it, it's not the acceptance. Then we will talk amongst ourselves. But I'll remind the commissioners, we can't ask any other questions. So this is last call. If there's any grave parts that you want to ask a question, now would be the timely time to do so.
The only other thing is if there's anyone from the public, Chairman.
Oh, thank you, Laura. I'm so sorry. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this application or ask a question, perhaps? Okay, hearing none, I am going to make a motion in the affirmative that we approve application 22-01 of Bruce Heel applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulation section 3.5 to install an emergency generator in the front yard of the property located at 6 Kiran Lane. Can I have someone second it, please?
I'll second.
Laura, I'll leave that to you for who to pick.
Either one.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, it's unanimous, so there's no one to abstain or vote against it, so that is passed. Now we can talk about amongst ourselves, the commissioners only. Do you have any questions or comments? I don't understand.
I initially had a question, but I think he already answered my question about, neighbors' permission, about, any noise, anything like that. But I think he already had the signature from the neighbors.
I believe so. Yep, the hardship, of course, we have to agree on a hardship, would be the gas line entry in the home is coming from the street, and albeit it's in front of the garage, it's the side of the garage, if you will. It's not the garage door entryway. So the hardship would be that the gas line entry, it's the only viable placement of it. And the electric panel in their basement, of course, is on that same wall. Would someone else, anyone else have any other comments? Okay, hearing none, would someone else like to make the motion, or I'd be happy to? If no one else has the staff note, just let me know how to go.
Go ahead, Stephen, since you
All
already
right,
kind of did.
in the interest of expedition, I'd like to make a motion to approve application 22-01 of Bruce Hall, applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations 3.5 to install a 22 kilowatt generator within the front yard per plans provided at the property located at 6 Kiran Lane, Assessors Map D18, Block 617, and Lot 138, Zone R40. This approval is subject to the following conditions, however. Number one, the applicant should provide adequate screening in the form of plantings and such. Number two, generator location to comply with all zoning setbacks. And number three, an administrative zoning permit is necessary to be obtained. Would someone like to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, there's no one left to vote no or abstain, so it's unanimous. That is, that has passed now. But Mr. Heel, did you understand the adequate screening? Do you have any questions of that? What that means?
Our preference would be to put some, a couple evergreen shrubs or something like that, rather than some sort
Whatever.
of,
It's something that you can do administratively with our zoning compliance officers. So just, they'll be able to answer any questions whatsoever. And from here, you just work with them. Of course, you have to get the
What's that
permit.
area? There are other people?
I'm sorry?
I think somebody's mic was on. They just didn't realize it.
Okay, so we're all set. Congratulations to you, Mr. Hale, and
thank you
your
very much for your
girlfriend who's
time.
next to you. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, moving right along. Application B is 22-02 of Jeffrey A. and Christine E. Giddens, applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulation section 3.10 for the installation of a pool within the rear yard setback of the property located at 468 Firetown Road. Who would like to speak on behalf of this application?
My name's Jeffrey Giddens, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. It's pretty straightforward, I think. If you can see by the sketches in the packet, we're planning on placing this pool behind our detached carriage house garage, and which is just a little over 50 feet off the rear setback per the zoning regulations. And the width of the pool is right around 20 feet. And the problem is, if we can't get into the setback area, it will be up very close to the back of the garage, which is a couple of problems other than the aesthetics, is that that area was built up on fill when I built the garage. We brought in about 350 yards of fill, and it was all compacted and everything, but I've had a few problems with settling on the foundation on the garage already. So I'm very hesitant to get too close to the garage with any kind of construction there. Our lot, as you can see, which is the primary reason for the request, is a very irregular shaped lot. We have almost 3 acres of land, but it's a keyhole shaped lot. And so that rear setback area is where we're trying to place this. It'll be directly behind the garage, shielded from the street by the garage. The only abutter that's affected, Ms. Smith, has graciously acquiesced to it, as you'll see in the paperwork there. It will be some 200 feet from her home and down the hill through a heavily wooded area. So I really don't think it's impacted. It's going to impact anybody's view. And I requested not less than 10 feet from the property line. In fact, I'm probably not going to have to get it that close. It's probably going to be more like 15 feet from the property line. But I wanted to have a little leeway, so in case the contractor does not exactly set the pool in the correct place. And this is an above ground pool. It's only a 4-foot deep pool. And we're hoping that we can get it put in this spring.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any questions right off the bat? All right, while you're pondering those, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak as to this application? Okay.
Hi, I'm Nikisha Smith, the neighbor of Mr. Giddens, and I support his application to have the pool and look forward to having his family enjoy that area.
Cool.
I
Thank
won't
you
be
for
able to
speaking.
see it. I won't be able to see much because we have plenty of woods behind, but you know, just anything to make families happy and enjoy their property.
Thank
Those
you.
are kind words. Thank you for sharing them. And I'm glad to hear that you're in agreement. It's very important, the neighbor's view.
You mentioned, I'm sorry, Mr. Giddens, you mentioned that there was some settling issues with the garage or the shed.
Yeah, it's actually a garage. It's a carriage house style, fairly large detached garage, 3 bays across the front. It's 36 by 34. It's a pretty good sized building.
Was there any risk by the whoever's installing it that would have any effect on the pool or no?
To tell you the truth, I really didn't raise that issue with them.
Just curious.
Mm-hmm. It is placed on the surface, you know, it's an above the ground. Yeah. There'll have to be some minor excavation there and compacting in that area. And incidentally, you know, as far as the settling goes, my excavation contractors, the Caldwells, and they're highly qualified. They will be doing the compacting and ensuring the site is properly prepared.
Oh, it's always nice to hear that locals are involved. Thank you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments from the commissioners that they'd like to ask questions before we close? Okay, again, I'll remind you how this works. We're going to say a positive referral for the application. However, we still have to talk about it, and then we will have a subsequent ruling on the request. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve application 22-02 of Jeffrey A. and Christine E. Giddens, applicant, for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.1, for the installation of a pool within the rear yard setback for a plan submitted of the property located at 468 Firetown Road. So just to start the conversation off, I'll reiterate what Mr. Giddens was nice enough to acknowledge, that the pool still should be at least 10 feet from the rear property line. He implied he's okay with that, and that still gives, a little leeway as far as it's not too far of a variance. Otherwise, I think all other zoning variances are rather all other zoning ordinances will be respected.
Mhm.
Laura's nodding yes, that's always a good sign. And of course, we'll have to have a conditional on an administrative zoning permit. But I don't really have any other questions. Having the neighbor speak out carries a lot of weight. She's the only one that really affects. And, it's above ground. Although this variance is permanent, the nature of an above ground pool is something that's not necessarily permanent. That doesn't mean you ever lose the variance, but it is something to acknowledge as we move forward with something like this. Does anyone else want to speak at all? Anyone? Bueller? All right.
I'll just
Julia.
say, obviously, the shape of this lot, it's huge. You would think there would be a place to put a pool, but the back side of it, you can tell from the drawings, is all wooded and not flat. And also it would be very, very far from the house in that case. So it makes sense that it would be behind the garage. There's one neighbor who may see it and she's okay with it. So I think that if there were a better place, the owner would have figured that out.
Yes.
It's really only going to be visible to him and that one neighbor. And as Stephen said, it's a temporary thing anyway. So if for some reason it doesn't work out for the owner, he can certainly change, take it away whenever he needs to.
Okay, does anyone else have does any other commissioners have any comments on this application before we move forward? Okay, to keep things moving, I'm going to make a motion to approve application 22-02, applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.10, for the installation of a pool within the rear yard setbacks of the property located at 468 Firetown Road, Assessors Map D03, Block 202, and Lot 001. It is a zone R80. The hardship is that it's a regular plot, and this is the only feasible location to the rear of the building. It is encumbered by the septic field as well as heavily wooded areas, and of course, their irregular lot. This approval is subject to the following conditions. Number one, the pool location shall not be less than 10 feet from any rear property line. Number two, the pool location shall comply with all other zoning setbacks. And number three, of course, an administrative zoning permit is to be obtained. Would someone like to second that?
Second.
And all those in favor, aye.
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 Mark? Ram?
Aye.
Okay, that's
Aye.
unanimous. There's nobody left to oppose or abstain. Congratulations, Mr. Giddens. Thank you for taking the time to come before us.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you, Miss Smith.
You're so welcome.
Enjoy the pool.
Okay, so moving along is general commission business, of which our subtitle is none. So I think we can bang that right out and agree we've got none. Has anyone had the time to read through the minutes of December 22nd, 2021?
Yes, I just saw one little negligent change on the last page in the top paragraph. Just the name of the plant is misspelled. I don't know if you care, but it should be where it should say arborvitae. It says like a bizarre word. So it's ARBORVITAE, one word.
Cool.
That's all I noticed.
Would you like to make a motion, perhaps?
I would like to, what's the date of that meeting though? I have to get to that.
December 22nd.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 22nd meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals
2021, just to
with
clarify.
2020, with
2022.
2021, with the one change noted by me
of the word arborvitae.
of the
With
word
that being
arborvitae.
said, who would like to second this motion?
I second.
All right, Ram, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does anyone need to abstain?
I'll
Or vote
abstain.
against it? All right, thank you, Josh. With that, there's nobody left to oppose, so those are approved. That seemed really fast, and I did want to apologize again for my tardiness.
That's okay.
It won't happen again.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. With that being said, would someone like to make that one final motion of the night? It's to adjourn, just to give you a hint.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals 2/23/22.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All right, thank you, Mark. All those in favor? Aye.
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 It's unanimous. No one left to abstain or oppose. Thank you very much and have a great night.